Right now, we're living through what I call the resilience paradox. And there are 5 things that are feeding that resilience paradox. The first thing that is feeding the resilience paradox is that we're actually facing more adversity than we ever have done beforehand. 52% of UK employees report feeling burnt out at work. 8 in 10 employees say they've experienced more workplace change in the last 2 years than ever before. Now you would think, okay, so with all the challenges, that should help them to develop their resilience. But actually, that's not what we're seeing at all. In fact, it's becoming too overwhelming. As a result, the second thing that's feeding this resilience paradox is that we're soothing ourselves with comfort in the short term rather than building long-term resilience. More than one in 3 employees say they avoid stress, and actually they fill their time with distraction or procrastination. The average American watches 7 hours of screen time outside of work. Where is that time? The comfort culture is also spilling over into the workplace. We're avoiding tough conversations a lot more. We're choosing ease over growth. And every time we do this, we diminish our capacity to be resilient. The third thing that is feeding that resilience paradox is, as a result of the first 2 things I've described, we aren't doing the right kind of hard. We actually need hard in order to flex that resilience muscle. That's not the only way to achieve it, but that is one of the ways. And as a result of that, what we're seeing in organizations is there is a return to helicopter management. That's over-controlling management practices. We're seeing command and control leadership having an enormous resurgence right now. Something that was the leadership paradigm of the 80s and 90s is now coming back in full force. And where managers and leaders aren't seeing their teams engaged, motivated, productive, that's why they're starting to come back to these styles of leadership and management, because it's a reaction to this resilience paradox that we find ourselves in. The fourth thing that is feeding the resilience paradox is that resilience is fundamentally misunderstood. We still think in the workplace often that resilience is an individual trait. You either have it or you don't. A lot of the training that happens is to cultivate resilience in individuals. But all of the evidence points to resilience being a team sport. People quit unsafe teams and a poor manager relationship. They're not leaving because of hard work. And the fifth and final thing that is feeding the resilience paradox is that resilience is not just about bouncing back. Yes, bouncing back is a part of it. But actually, if you look at what actually feeds resilience, what it takes to be resilient, and what the outcome of resilient is, they are 3 different distinct things. The inputs of what we need to create team resilience are things like courage, connection, compassion. Similarly, I would say for individuals as well. And then the middle bit, when we're actually being resilient, when we're actually dealing with something adverse, something challenging, that's where it gets messy and human. I call it sitting in the messy human middle, because that's what it feels like, because it's hard and it's challenging and we're not sure how we're going to manage it. And that can be really difficult. And yes, the outcome of resilience can look like strength and grit and determination. And yes, those things can be a part of the inputs as well. But primarily, most of the inputs are where we are at our most human. They are the soft skills that we need to cultivate in ourselves and in our teams. And that is why I believe we need to redefine what resilience is and how we cultivate that in our teams so that they can thrive in times of change, because we're living in an era of relentless change. Now,